I grew up being able to enjoy 80s, 90s, and early 2000s action-adventure fantasy, which isn't too much of a genre anymore. We've kind of moved to superheroes, which is great. But I was able to watch, Robin Hood and A Knight's Tale and Timeline and Labyrinth and so many of these shows with my family, and we all got something out of it. And I feel like there's a lack of that in a lot of different media, and especially in this audio format, which is strange. And my sister and I, we both wrote the story together, we really wanted to fill that gap the best we could.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hello, everybody. Day 2 here at Rise Up Con. Coach Chris here with Mr. Jared, and we have 2 special guests that are in the booth adjacent to our booth.
Caddy corner.
Is it caddy corner?
It's
is
caddy
that
corner.
Appropriate? Okay.
You said kitty corner.
Do you say kitty corner?
Yeah.
Caddy corner?
That might be a Wisconsin
Caddy
thing.
corner is like an old man thing.
Yeah.
Like young people don't say caddy corner.
Wait, I am an old man.
Oh,
And I'm
sorry.
a young guy.
Sorry,
We
Darby.
just mixed it up.
Yeah, we're all old. Hey. Day 2 at Rise Up Con, and Jared and I are sitting here with some new friends, and we talked with them yesterday before we wrapped for the day, and said we'd love to have you come over and speak with us a little bit, get to know your stories and what you're doing in the world. And it sounds really great, and you guys gave us some listening material yesterday.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. So Darby, Micah, welcome to Strong by Design podcast. Please introduce yourselves and what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm Darby Kern.
I'm Micah Touchet. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we are producers of audio drama, specifically the Jake Muller Adventures, and we're with Armor of God Productions now. We each have our own production company names, but today we're here for Armor of God.
Cool.
Love it. That's a great name, by the way.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
It's our producer, David Fair.
So give me a
great.
quick overview synopsis of Jake Muller.
Well, the Jake Muller Adventures is an action-adventure-driven audio drama, like a movie with no pictures.
Right.
Coming back into vogue, like old-time radio, but a little
Yes.
more sophisticated than that. But the story is largely about spiritual warfare, and covers this character, Jake Muller, as he starts taking his faith seriously and charts his growth throughout that. But we also deal with issues like what should a Christian think about aliens and UFOs, vampires, zombies, all the stuff that
You
is
should
popular
love them as
culture.
Jesus did.
We should. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it's really awesome. We were chatting yesterday how we've been sitting down and as a family and listening to Adventures in Odyssey, and how it has that old-timey radio feel of everyone gathering around, the radio, and just it has a different interactive experience with your family listening to something like that than watching the television. But we're limited in how many tapes we have of Adventures in Odyssey, so I was excited to meet you guys because I'm like, hey, this sounds like a possible next good step for something for us to do as a family.
Yeah,
sure.
it could be. How many episodes of Odyssey are there now? They just did a 2,000?
So they're getting ready to do the 1,000.
1,000.
Okay. I only have one thing of tapes, though.
They'll sell you more.
Oh, okay, they will.
They'll take your money.
Yeah.
As will we.
As will you. Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. So you guys are both working on Jake Muller? Is that,
Yeah. I'm the writer and the director, and Micah does everything else pretty much.
Okay.
Except the acting.
Yeah.
So I kind of as producer, I do the sound design, and so one of the stories I did some dialogue coaching.
Is that like Foley?
So it includes Foley. The sound
Okay.
design would be there's kind of 3 big parts. You have your background ambiances, which right now we're in a crowd, so
Yes.
we hear background crowd.
Yes.
And then we have Foley, which
We
would
didn't
be,
have to add that. That's
We didn't have
all
to add
natural.
that.
This is
Yeah.
not
This is
dubbed
the real
in or
deal.
anything.
So Foley would be things like picking up a cup, patting them on the shoulder,
Sliding a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, those type of things. And then spot effects are the other things. That would be like car crashes, gunshots, car door slams,
Sure.
door openings, things like that.
All of
Yeah.
which we have in Jake
Yeah.
Muller.
Lots
Do you
of
have
them.
do you have like score, like cinema score?
We do. So our composer is Jared DePascal, and he's worked on Odyssey and a lot of other
Okay.
Christian audio dramas and movies as well.
He's terrific.
Yeah,
Really
that's awesome.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think you said yesterday you have anywhere from 30 to 40 voice actors that can participate in
Yeah.
particular episodes.
We had right about 40 for our last. We recorded 2, so it was kind of spread over 2 albums. But yeah, we're right at 40 actors.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's your process for finding actors for something like this?
So the first episode, we used a website called Backstage.
Yep.
And we
use that.
We
Yeah,
use
we
that.
use
I was
that.
gonna say, we
Yeah,
use
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we recorded in
For-
Chicago at Todd Bastide's studio, Gap Digital, and so we knew some actors in the Chicago area, but we didn't know all of them. And Darby had cast some of the leads from people he had worked with previously
Yeah.
that weren't necessarily in the Chicago area, but the rest of the cast was
Sure.
through Backstage.
With this kind of deal, though, like you don't need people to actually come in. They can still are they able, if they're equipped to record from home, can they do that? And you say, hey, that's good audio quality. We can use that.
Yeah, we have done that.
You can't direct as well with that, I guess.
It's not quite the same. We love getting everybody in the studio.
Yeah.
And this time we had most of the actors in the studio. When we record next year, the plan is to bring people in literally from all over the world
Yeah.
to play the parts in the
Yeah.
studio.
So I'm sure you guys probably have done podcasts with video chat, and it's when your family style around the table, it's a little bit. So 90% of communication is nonverbal.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it really works with the actors really
Morning.
good, having everybody in the same room.
Yeah.
But
well,
we did have a
because
few
then you're like
calling.
playing off each other and things along
Absolutely.
those lines, right? Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
that's
have
really fun.
some amazing actors who can really work off each other, can really change their voices. I mean, we have one of the actors we discovered from Chicago for the first show, a guy named Nick Mataragas, who I think you read probably 7 or 8 different parts.
I was gonna say you got a guy who can do multiple.
Yeah, he was
parts.
kind of our Swiss Army knife.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's terrific, and most people probably wouldn't even know the difference between
Yeah.
the two of them.
Yep.
For this one, we had a couple actors who could do that, and one of our good friends, Kara O'Brien, is a lady who can literally sound like an infant, a newborn infant, and a 90-year-old lady.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yeah,
She's just terrific.
so
great.
we've
Wow.
used her on some stuff where she was like this 9-year-old woman, and then I worked on a show with her there's this app called Abide. It's a Christian meditation app, and I'm one of the producers for the content on there, and we did a Christmas series, and so she played Mary, but she also played Jesus being born.
Oh my
And it was the
God.
most incredible thing because she was playing them simultaneously.
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
it was pretty
Yeah.
incredible.
So
That's
what
awesome.
would it take to have a couple of Strong by Design guys have a cameo spot
Oh
on
my gosh.
Wouldn't that be fun? We can say no, it's okay. I'm
Micah's
sorry.
like,
They're like,
"Ah."
So actually,
sounds fun.
we put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
No, we actually do stuff like that. Like I had a friend of mine. We needed a pilot calling back from a control tower, and it was just a one-liner.
Sure.
He recorded on his voice memo. It was going to go through this what they call futzing, where it's makes it sound like it's coming over radio.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter the audio quality really
Sure.
much. So yeah, and then we also do this stuff called Walla, which is background actors. So it's kind of nondescript, but it's like most of the actors will improv or on a microphone for the background stuff.
It was strange to watch. It's
Yeah,
always
and
strange
so
to watch.
Yeah.
I tell you
Yeah.
what, if you have your contact information now, I'll say, hey, I need this line. Just
Yeah.
record and
But
send
we
it.
will stay in touch with you.
I think
and
it would be fun.
It would be
Come on
fun.
up to Wheaton.
Yeah. We might surprise you
Yeah.
with how great and gifted we are.
If it's that
Yeah.
good, I may have to turn up a little more of the background. Why that background guy so loud?
That's right.
They're really giving a lot of attention to that background guy right
That's
now.
right.
He's just sneezing. I mean, what's going on?
It's probably the best sneeze I've ever heard. in
Oh,
my
that's
life.
wonderful. It's nice that you're putting out content that brings people together in a way and gets the imagination going. I was talking with you yesterday about just on my drive in the car, oftentimes to work or at home. It's just such a more pleasurable experience if I'm listening to something like an audio book
For
or a
sure.
really good podcast. and I could even get into something like this, you know, and that would be fun. Just to listen to good storytelling
Absolutely.
that's highly produced, and take me on a journey. You know, people need a little bit of a break from reality.
I
You know?
think so.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
It's you mentioned Adventures in Odyssey before. We love Adventures in Odyssey. We know many of the creators of it, and we always said from the very beginning that our show, the Jake Muller Adventures, is almost for the kids who listened to Odyssey and then got a little older and thought, I don't want to listen to Odyssey anymore.
They
And
got
they want
too cool.
something, action adventure driven. And that's what we came up with. Because there's a period of time between maybe like 13 and 18 where they think, I'm too cool for Odyssey. And then at 18 they realize, you know what, Odyssey was pretty cool too. So I need to get back to that. So we're going to try and grab them in the middle and hang on to them.
That's great.
But we've had a lot of really good responses from adults, good feedback, who really enjoyed the show. So we're writing for them too. Really, I write for me. I write what I want to hear, and
I love that. I love the overhead guy going. Let's just listen to him.
It's very. You are welcome.
Thank you for attending Rise Up Con, Tennessee.
See that
guy's
was
card.
that was your
Yeah.
one-liner right there.
That was my
And he got on the podcast for free.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, this guy's famous. See, we should be paying him.
That's good.
Unbelievable. Well, this is great. It's so nice to meet you guys. We'll be able to chit chat a little bit more today.
Yeah.
What are you looking? What are you thinking you're going to get out of today? Are you hoping for a little bit more action here? I would like to see even a little bit busier.
A little more
it's
foot
a
traffic.
Saturday.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We were talking about that. Probably, I would think more foot traffic today.
Yeah, I would think so. People at least kicking tires, curious about about what's going on at the convention
And
center.
if people want to find you who are listening, where do they go?
So they can go to any of the socials, SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're Jake Muller Adventures on all those, or they can go to jakemulleradventures.com.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's great.
I'm excited to start listening.
cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
What were you going to say, Darby?
I was going to say I was just looking for some more converts today. So
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. That's right.
I hope we found some.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good.
you definitely
You
did. You definitely did.
Yeah, you can put 2 down.
All right.
Put 2 down.
But we're kind of half yesterday, half today. So
right.
you know,
That's
but-
right.
Well, we were afraid to come over here yesterday and talk to you guys because
Yeah.
you look pretty tough. We thought,
Oh, yeah. Well,
man,
Chris
these
did.
guys might want to run.
Oh,
us
I
like that.
know.
I got
Jared's
nothing.
he looks
Yeah.
very angry all the
Yeah.
time, doesn't he?
Yeah, I keep saying it's because of my 2 jiu-jitsu classes.
He did.
You know,
You know what's funny? He so this. I'll end with this. He comes in one day after his first jiu-jitsu experience, and he says, "Yeah, I tried this British jiu-jitsu." And I was like, British jiu-jitsu? I didn't realize. He's like, yeah.
It's like Bolivian.
And I'm like,
Krav Maga.
are they much like more polite?
Yeah.
You know, like, hello, mate. You know, like I'm gonna wrestle you to the mat. And he's like, no, Brazilian. I'm like, yeah, Brazilian. That sounds more appropriate. Brazilian.
Now I just skip. I just go straight to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So he did like 2 or 3 times.
I did too.
And he was like, yeah.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's that they met at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so that meant I was like up at 4.
Yeah.
And then my day, like I would get home and I was a zombie. And I was
You were
like,
pretty sore though for a few days too.
It did, and it hurt I messed up my rib pretty bad. So
just stick to
if you
body weight
if you
next time.
haven't done it before, basically jiu-jitsu is like grown-up intense hugging for like 30 minutes
with men.
With men.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a chiropractor in the same strip mall. So.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah,
man.
absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Chiropractor,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
type of,
Yeah.
acupuncturist,
This was like
I love those
backdoor,
guys.
a warehouse kind of jujitsu.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
My
was.
daughter
Yeah.
has a black belt in karate, and I always tell people whenever they say, "Do you know karate?" I said, "I know karate and 2 other Japanese words."
That's right. That's good. That's good.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Darby and
Yeah,
Micah. It's
absolutely.
such a pleasure to have
Thank
you guys.
you.
Yeah. Continuing on here, Rise Up Con, and
Yes, we are.
meeting some fabulous people. And actually, we met our next guest here is Callie, who we actually met at the coffee shop this morning in
in the
town.
dark
Honeybee-
alley.
Honeybee?
I'm
That's
just kidding.
right.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
coffee
Yeah,
shop.
we couldn't find how to get in the stupid door because it's like this hidden coffee shop. But we found it. We figured it out. We all survived. We got our coffee, and then we were like, "Hey, you should come on the podcast because."
Well, you guys were wandering around like you really needed some help, and caffeine seemed to be the
Yes.
draw.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? They are determined to
Yeah.
find coffee and find the door to this shop. So
That's
I
right.
followed you.
That's right.
Here we are.
We got split up for a minute.
We did. I
we
know.
did. We got split up for a minute,
I
but
saw
we got
a
in.
guy. Listen, we were kind of walking the same way
Yep.
for a second, and then I turned in our confusion, and I saw a guy coming around the other corner with
Yeah.
a coffee in his hand. I'm like, that guy knows
He knows.
where
knows.
the coffee's at.
He
So I went
knows.
this way. You kept going, and we met on the front
Front.
side of the building and
Yeah.
got some pretty darn good coffee.
It was,
So,
it was coffee.
Yeah.
It was
was.
better than the hotel. That's
well,
for
that's
sure.
okay. So it
Yes.
tasted much better than
Yeah.
what we had
Yeah,
previously.
and then the
Yeah.
hotel coffee.
But I've told you this. I'm biased because my wife's a barista.
Oh,
And
so,
so-
you're a snob. You're not just biased.
didn't
You're a
mean to be a
snob.
snob.
I didn't mean to
You're
be.
100% right.
She made me a snob.
Oh,
and I'm
always
proud
blame.
of it. So,
Adam and Eve here.
She's very good.
Wait, no, just
Christiana,
kidding.
you again have been mentioned on the podcast.
I think I probably mention her every single
Yeah,
time.
pretty much.
That's
unintentionally.
beautiful. Nice.
It just
That's good.
happens. It's life, right?
Right, it
so That's
is.
the way it is. So Callie actually has her
Yes.
own podcast.
It is. It's a narrative. So we're telling a story throughout the whole thing. And it's a serial. So there's continued episodes that are dropped every Wednesday. It's for the nerds and people who like time travel and medieval fantasy, but are looking for something that not only talks about hope and courage, but has femininity and masculinity and its beautiful forms played out. So
Yeah.
we've kind of switched a few things around here where we've got two main characters, Rona and Flint Thatcher, who are from New Mexico, modern day, and they get
I
whisked
love the
back to
Thatchers.
right?
Yeah.
They get whisked back to medieval Wales in the year 1232. So the title
Okay.
of the podcast is 1232. You can tune in, stream it for free wherever you're getting your podcasts, including
It's a
this
long
one.
year.
Right? and you can tune in and hear the show. But we've got Rona, who's a MMA cage fighter from Albuquerque,
Okay.
New Mexico. She hates her brother's guts. He's like a historian, history major, and he's the
So
nerd,
it's like,
and he
it's like
kind
the
of
athlete and the nerd.
exactly. It's
Okay.
a classic tale.
That's right.
We love the classics.
Classic.
And they get whisked back to medieval Wales. So,
That's
you know,
cool.
how does MMA work fighting against swords and armor? We get to dive
Yeah.
into that a little bit, but it's
How does
mostly a
jiu-jitsu
tale
do
of
against the
courage.
sword?
Exactly. Well, if you can get the sword out of the hand, you can pull anybody over.
I guess so.
But, you know, that's actually a quirky little thing we can talk about is that there was wrestling and a type of medieval jiu-jitsu in armor.
Oh.
So in doing research on how I would have a cage fighter or MMA, she does Muay Thai. So how does someone like that use the skills that she has against people who are in
Isn't
full
that
armor?
just a late night adult drink?
Right?
Hook me up with the Muay
Okay,
Thai.
come on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Jared.
boy.
Listen.
Wait a minute.
he's-
What
he's-
is your wife a bartender or a barista?
No,
here?
barista.
No,
Remember,
She's a barista.
he's a
She's a
father
barista.
of four, so his dad jokes are already four
I'm
times
in.
worse.
Yeah. How am
Yeah.
I going to laugh at those?
That's perfect. That's how my 12-year-old does it. My dad's
so
like,
funny,
"All
Dad.
right."
That's what my 12-year-old does.
Well, Ezra would just be like, Dad, that's a dad joke.
Yeah, that's another way.
Yeah.
That's another
And
reaction.
Eris is like, Dad, you're hilarious.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the youngest.
youngest,
Yeah,
yeah.
my daughter just turned 9. She still
Yeah.
thinks I'm pretty funny.
Yeah. It's funny because Chris actually, we're way off topic here, but Chris
No, go
has,
for it.
he has a 12.
I can roll.
Your oldest is 12.
Yes.
My oldest is 12.
Yes.
Your youngest is 9.
Correct.
My twins are 9.
That's correct.
But then I also have one more in between.
Yeah, you have an
We have an
11
11.
So
Yeah.
you're slacking, Chris.
Yeah, you really
What
messed
the heck?
up.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
but this is cool.
We tapped out at
is
2.
is there age? Is this like age specific?
It's all ages.
Okay.
All the characters in it are adults. Rona and Flint are in their early 20s, and everyone else is adults who do have a little kid in there in the medieval times. But it's an all ages show because I grew up being able to enjoy 80s, 90s, and early 2000s action adventure fantasy, which
Yeah.
isn't too much of a genre anymore. We've kind of moved to superheroes, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to watch, Robin Hood and A Knight's Tale and Timeline and Labyrinth and so many
my
of these
gosh.
shows
Yeah.
with my family, and we
Yeah.
all got
Yeah.
something out of it. And I feel like there's a lack of that in in a lot of different media, and especially in this audio format, which is strange.
Yeah.
And my sister and I, we both wrote the story together, we really wanted to fill that gap the best we could.
Cool,
So
that's
this is an
awesome.
all-ages show. So if we've got kids as young as 6 years old who are tuning in every week
Is it
and
your
enjoying
voice
it.
that's on it, or you?
My voice and 40 others.
Okay, there
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
That's fun that you get to be in it as well.
Well, I just do kind of bit roles, and then I handle the narration. And then we have
So Chris and I's goal that I just created is that
that I'm unaware of. Apparently.
All right, here we go.
we
Big
did.
announce,
Yeah,
everybody.
ready?
Big announce. Dropping.
we want to be a cameo one day on some of this stuff.
Heck
be
yeah.
fun? Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
We can do
that was
Yeah.
iterated earlier when we
Yeah.
spoke to the
Oh,
Darby
yes.
and Micah with
Yeah.
the Jake
And
Muller.
They didn't really
series.
buy into it very much, but maybe you're going to be different. I think that we could do a good job.
I'm a sucker for somebody who says, "Give me a shot." I'm like, "All right,
Give me a shot.
Come on,
I'm ready.
I got you.
I'm ready.
We'll do
we
it.
already got the gear.
Well, we would just,
Exactly.
yeah, right. We could contribute in a way that would give
Well, I've
you
got
at
to
least
write some bumbling,
Yeah,
buddies
There
of
you
some
go.
kind.
There you
Yes,
go.
a couple of
Yeah.
bumbling guys,
Just kidding.
a really,
Yeah.
a very attractive, muscular guy with with his sidekick.
With a sidekick with the good hair
I'm no
and the whole
sidekick,
thing.
man.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on
really,
now.
his
Come on
really
now.
well coiffed
Yeah.
sidekick. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds about right.
With a
It sounds like it
mustache.
would fit in the show.
Yeah. Totally medieval
Back-
with the helmets and everything.
Yeah, of course. I think that's a
man.
great idea.
Is there any spiritual aspects to the show?
Absolutely, there is. I have the past 10 years been involved in the professional music industry, playing in music clubs and venues and bars. I get asked a lot of questions about, what I'm doing in those situations from Christians, from non-Christians. So the faith element in it is an attempt to answer some of those real life questions that me and my sister have both received in this life. So instead of using churchy jargon and hopefully not too many old Christian fantasy fiction tropes, we really wanted to bring the questions that Rona and Flint have from modern, burned American Christian culture to a medieval era where God is in everyday language and he's the certainty that they have. They don't know who's going to be king next, if they're going to live, if they're going to find food, but they know that God is there.
Yeah.
Put that into medieval Wales where you've got the pagans who are like, oh, sure, we'll add Jesus to the list. But then we have, Christians who are in the early, still kind of an early formation of the church, as we would call it today, addressing these young kids who are like, oh, but God is so not cool. Like, we've moved on past that. You guys are, literally in the dark ages. But they learn very quickly how important it is to survival to have that faith and that courage, and
That's
how
cool.
shallow they've
That's
been
great.
looking at the world.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I love
That's
it.
I
It's
love
fun.
that.
yeah.
It's so cool to be able to bring it in a story in that type of environment, in that setting where you can just have biblical truths and themes and stuff in a way that's very
Exactly.
entertaining and takes people on a journey. I think that's so great. In a very kind of side way, it reminds me of a gentleman that has been a repeat guest on our podcast, where he talks. His name's Frank Turek. He's a Christian apologist, and
Oh, very cool.
He had put a book out a few years ago with his son, co-authored with his son, called Hollywood Heroes. How God. I'm trying to remember the tagline of the book too, but
Sure.
it's basically how the theme of Jesus is written about in all the modern day superheroes.
Yes,
And
definitely.
he kind of covers that, talking about the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and to Batman to Iron Man and to all these other characters.
Certainly Superman.
And certainly
Superman.
Superman. And the story of the hero's journey, that we're all drawn to and love to
Absolutely.
listen to in different ways, really all boils down to the story of Jesus in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That we're all looking for that savior and the hero.
Yeah.
And it's just neat that, you're able to build those biblical truths and themes into something that's like is your own creation, that
Absolutely,
you've written with your sister.
Yes, yeah.
And so is it just the two of you that have really driven this whole thing, or have you
Yeah.
had other people contribute?
As far as this show goes, like, it's just been she and I that have done the writing part. It took us 14 years to finally get this production to happen.
Wow.
We started off with a film script that I wrote. She reluctantly participated in a short film, and she's like, man, what is this, Callie? You're so crazy. And she's my older sister, so of course. And she's the one with the writing prowess.
Yeah.
And we were on a road trip to a homeschool convention where we were showing the short film to help encourage other homeschoolers. This is back in the early O's, to be a part of making films. Like that was something
The
available
early O's.
to you.
Sorry,
I know how else.
I like that.
It's
a good way to put it.
I like it. I've never heard it. I've never heard it that way, but it needs to be that way.
Okay, well,
that's
there
the
you go.
right way. Like the early thousands or
early
2000s
O's, yeah.
is weird. I like the early O's.
Early O's.
The early O's.
Sorry, continue.
No, you're good. We went to these conferences, and during that time, she's like, tell me more about the story. She's the one who really gave it the idea of like, hey, Cal, I think this is a novel. Like, there's more to this story than just the script that you wrote. So she got married, had kiddos. I married a rock and roller, went out on the road, and a lot of time in between. But the Lord never let the story die. We went on to write other things. I did some interviews and some writing for music magazines and things like that. And then she was writing other stuff. And the story never died. Pandemic happened. My way of life got chopped. I could no longer tour on the road, so it gave me time to finish this.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, do we want to do it a book, or really the skills I had gained over the years attributed to audio more so than it did to publishing a novel. And so we pursued this avenue.
That's
and then
cool.
we brought in a whole other team of people who were so excited to be a part of something like this, because like our friends over here that have been up here at Rise Up Con at Tannhauser Gate, it's got that audio drama aspect with the narration, with the voice actors coming in, the immersive sound design, and then an original score. But releasing it episodically is a little bit different.
So cool.
We've been listening to Adventures in Odyssey as a family, and just like, I love the old-timey feel of like we're listening to an old radio show. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
It's different. It's different when you have to use your imagination, but the kids all get really quiet, and we just sit there, and it's actually a calming like thing to do before we go to bed, is to listen to this stuff. And so I've been on the hunt, like trying to find these things, and they're so hard to find, because it's like you search like audio story. I don't know.
Right.
It's like, what do you even search for?
What do you search?
And so I'm grateful that we're here and that those guys are doing it and you're doing it. And now I have something to take home with me to say, okay, guys.
Excellent. Here we go.
Like, we got something
lots
else,
of new material.
new stuff to listen to. And then when the bubbling idiots show up and my voice is there and I don't even tell them,
See?
and they're like, Dad, is that you?
Sure is, son.
Sure is.
sure.
Alright, cool.
It sure is, So, but no, I just think it's awesome. Obviously it's something that, are you just continually writing to keep the story going? Or is this a completed story and eventually you're going to do something different?
1232 is a completed story.
Okay.
It's broken into 2 seasons. So season 1 is 30 episodes, so there's plenty of material there. Each episode's about 20 to 30 minutes. And season 2 is also 30 episodes. So that's in and of itself. Could this particular universe, you could call it, keep going? Absolutely. Of course. I mean, I could keep writing that. But I also enjoy writing other types of stories that have to do with like the Victorian Gothic. I like Edgar Allan Poe. I like Charles Dickens. I like bringing in things like that. Also, Westerns. My sister and I, 4th generation New Mexicans, grew up out on ranches out there, and so the Western is very near and dear to us. And 1232, feels more like if Louis L'Amour wrote a medieval novel.
Sure.
And so we like incorporating those kind of Western themes and elements to it. And so Western is in my near future.
Cool.
Wow. Steve would love her.
Yeah.
One of our other coworkers.
Oh, nice.
He's
very into Westerns.
Yeah,
and
loves it.
Loves that style
His
and everything.
office.
It's full of John Wayne
reeks
and
of Western.
Yeah.
He's a Western guy.
Actually, my dad's middle name is LaRue, and he's from Lash LaRue, and so our oldest son's middle name is LaRue.
LaRue, keeping it going.
Yeah, keeping it going.
Awesome.
So,
Way to go.
Good old Lash LaRue. You know, whoever he was. I know my grandma liked him. So.
Yeah, I know who Lash LaRue was. Yeah,
I've seen him on a pocket knife.
Yes, exactly. My sister's named Cheyenne after Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm named Callie Sioux. Sioux spelled Siaux. And so
after
my
California,
mom, right?
Sioux?
Yeah. And my family's big into all that.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
they were
Very
kind of
fun.
like, why are we doing medieval when we could do a Western?
That's right.
And I'm like, sorry, you had me. I don't know.
That's right.
I'm the weird one.
That's cool.
So where can people who are interested, surely there are those people interested listening, and of course myself, but where's the best way for us to go and find your show and to follow you?
Sure. So I'm on all the social medias as 1232. That's 1232. 1232 Audio Epic. You can find that on Instagram and Facebook and wherever. But audio-epic.com is the website. And then you can listen to the episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Audible, all for free.
Okay. Wow.
So this show was sponsored and is listener supported through a Kickstarter and then through our different ad slots that we sell for the show.
Yep.
And these people all agreed, and my Kickstarter supporters really wanted it to be free and available so people could find it.
That's great.
And that way it's not behind a paywall to where it's like, okay, well, you know, how do we make this commitment? We don't know if we like the show, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And we really wanted to make it available to people right out the gate.
That's awesome.
So
Love it. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah,
and I'm
thank you
glad
guys. Appreciate
we
it.
were able to connect at the coffee shop this morning
Yeah.
and get you in right. You can probably hear it. Everyone's like tearing down around
Yeah.
us.
You
which
can
is
hear things getting
that's
dropped
right,
and
you know,
stuff.
but
And what's really exciting is I know this mug that I have in this box over here has just been sitting waiting for someone who likes coffee.
Yeah.
And so guess what you're getting?
Yes.
Winner,
Nice.
Winner
That's
turkey
right.
dinner. Well,
That's
thank you
cool.
so much, Callie.
Yeah,
Thank you
appreciate you very
guys.
much.
Jared,
Looking forward to
Chris.
listening.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.